Hello, welcome back to the Mobile Motorbike Mechanic channel. I'm Steve. Today we're going off to a repeat customer, actually, a Fireblade. He says bike won't start, so yeah, he's gone to start it after a winter layup and it's just doing nothing at all. So yeah, so we'll see you when we get there. Right folks, so here we are back with the Fireblade. Old viewers might recognise this one. We did a clutch in this one not so long ago. Anyway, the customer's had it on charge. You can see it's been on charge, battery's full. He's come to use it over from bringing it out of storage. Switches it on. Now if we come around and have a look at the gauges and everything. So yeah, everything's working, everything's fine. Press the start button. Nothing at all. Okay, we get this a lot. So just because your battery charger says it's 100% on the battery, unfortunately doesn't mean it's going to be 100% on the battery. As you can see now, that's turned down to sort of like it's back on charge again, whereas if it was a good battery it'd be straight back up to full. So what we'll do is we'll pop the seat off this one, we'll quickly test the battery, but I think the battery's knackered on this, so we'll test that now. Okay, cheap and cheerful test meter. So this isn't even a test meter really, this is just a probe. So what we do is we'll clip that onto the negative side of the battery, pop that on the bottom positive, and as you can see 13 volts, so nothing wrong with that battery, right? Okay, well that's because we've got it on charge. So if we disconnect the charger, he's immediately down to 11.4, and then let's turn the ignition on. 11.2, 11.1, 11.2, yeah. And now let's see what it drops to when we press the start button. Nothing at all. And it comes back to 10. So that battery completely knackered. Very, very quick rule of thumb. On the side of the toolbox here I've written down, because people don't believe me, 12.8 volts on a 12 volt battery is about 100%, 12.6 is 75, 12.4 is 50, 12.2 is 25%. Anything below that, your battery ideally needs to be replaced. Because even though it's a 12 volt battery, you need more than 12 volts in it. It's a bit of a weird one, I know, but as you saw on the bike, it was running at, what was it, 11.1, 11.2 with the ignition switch turned on. So it's never going to start it. Ducatis are particularly fickle on this. Anything less than about 12.2 volts, you won't get a Ducati to start. So yeah, just a little rule of thumb. That's the way I do it. Other people might say might say differently, but that's the way I do it. Anyway, back to the bike. Right, whilst we were over at the van just doing that little explanation, I actually forgot to switch the ignition off on the bike, which has turned out well, because if we now test the battery, it's only been switched on for like what, 2-3 minutes, and we're already down to 10.4. so it proves the point that that battery is completely, and it's still dropping. It's trying to go down to 10.3 now, so the battery is completely buggered. So yeah, we'll get that swapped out. Right, so nice and straightforward on this. All we need to do is pull the battery strap off, and then we've just got the two terminals. They're either cross-edge screwdriver, or if they've been really done up very, very tightly, you might need a 10mm. And people will tell me off because I'm doing the positive first instead of the negative. So let's go back to the negative. That's it. So that little lead there is for the battery tender, and then there's your actual bike, positive and negative. Your bike, you might have other things on there as well, like USB ports and all sorts of stuff. But there we go. So that's the battery out, and it's a 9BS Enduro line. Not a bad battery, the Enduro line, but obviously that one's just had its day. So we'll go and get a new battery for that one. Okay, so Yuasa 9BS battery. So let's just test it before we put it on the bike. And we have on there, whoop, there you go, a nice steady 13 volts. So there you go, it's a decent battery, whereas the other one was running, I think we had 10 volts or something. That's running 13. Obviously there's no load on it as such, just the tester, but we're happy with that, and it's good to put back on. A cautionary tale: batteries in the UK cannot be sold with acid. It's illegal to sell acid in the UK because of idiots going into nightclubs and throwing it in people's faces. Enough of that. Anyway, so batteries come pre-filled. Now, if you ever fill one of these batteries, you must wait for it to stop bubbling before you fit the cap. Recently I bought a battery. I'm going to put some photos up in the corner somewhere. We recently bought a battery. It arrived instantly. I knew there was something wrong with it because it was smelling of sulphur and the battery was wet. So as you can see from the photos that we're putting up now, yeah, what had happened was somebody had filled the battery up, not let it gas off, had fitted the lid, and then the lid had actually split because the gas inside had just blown it. And then they'd packaged, and obviously that had happened in the post, so they'd packaged it up, sent it to me, and when it arrived it had all acid everywhere. So that battery went in the bin, and we went and bought another battery from another supplier, which is this one here. So anyway, cautionary tale: if you ever do in other countries fill these with acid, fill them up, leave them for a good 24 hours, and then fit the cap. Let's get this one fitted. When you go and fit these little bolts, they are a complete and utter pain. What I tend to do is put the little nuts. I tend to put the bolts in and screw them down a couple of turns, and what that does is then it will hold the nut inside the terminal, because if you put those little nuts in there and then go to put the battery in, as you're doing that with the battery, they'll fall out and you'll never see them again. So pop the battery in and then undo the bolt. Then we're going to do positive first. Dun dun. And then we can do negative. Now, when you come to do negative, you might get a couple of sparks off that. On this bike, no sparks, we're all good. But if you get sparks and smoke and all sorts of stuff, quickly take it off. Because I know people who have put these batteries on backwards, and they've put the negative on the positive and the positive on the negative, and it can cause all sorts of problems. So there we go, all sorted, and it's just the battery strap back on again. Battery strap's on. Right, so handy dandy test probe again, not test meter. We're still running 13 volts, so let's turn the ignition on. There you go, it's down to 13.1 with the ignition on. So instant improvement, and if we press the start button, bike's turning over and it drops to 11, but then it's straight back up to 12, and over time that will bump back up again to 12.8, 12.9, 13. So we're happy with that. Got a brand new battery on there, and this one, well, with a bit of coaxing and a bit of choke, it should fire right up. There we go, that's running now. And as a final test, we can check to make sure the bike's charging correctly, and it is. Running at a nice steady 14 volts, 14.5 volts. That's good. So there we go. Nice and easy battery swap and a charging system check as well. So we'll get the seat back on this one and we'll call it done. Right, that's all back together again, so one final check to make sure we haven't disturbed anything. Yeah, there we go. And we'll pop it back on charge. That's that one done. So there we go. Ooh, turn the fuel off. Right, so that's that one done. So yeah, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video.